Is that live? Oh, perfect. All right, let's get this going.
All right.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Blade. I'm the owner and journalist for Indian River News, the only conservative news outlet here in Indian River County. I am here today with Moms for Liberty, Indian River, Florida Chairman Jennifer Pippin.
Hey, Ryan.
It's good to have you here, Jennifer. So what we're going to be doing here today, I'm hoping to make this a recurring thing where I have Mrs. Pippin here come on to Indian River News, and we're going to do a recap for the entire county of what goes on at each of the school board meetings, because there's a lot that's been going on at these meetings. There's been various issues throughout the county, and this is something, Jennifer, I just thought of actually. I want your thoughts on something. What are your thoughts? Because this is something I've been hearing from parents, teachers. What are your thoughts on, because I feel like there's a cancel culture in the district. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely, there is. Absolutely, without a doubt.
Yeah, and just so folks understand, there's a lot of parents that I actually had somebody speak to me recently saying, Brian, I have parents, they're afraid to speak up, or they're afraid, their kid's going to get some sort of discrimination or harassment or something. I've had people tell me this. And those are the people that, even though they may not know Jennifer, those are the parents that Jennifer Pippin and Moms for Liberty in Indian River, Florida, that they represent. And I think it's quite appalling that we have this in the district. I know that, at least I would hope that, I know Jackie Rosario would take a look at it. I don't know where the other four are at on that, but I know that Jackie would, at least I would hope, have some concern for this. My understanding, if I were to ask her about that, I'm sure she would. So I thought that was a little something I'd add in there. But what were the big things, though? We'll start at, because lately we've had the Superintendents Workshop and the school board meetings, like the general business meeting. They've been happening on different days, but today, for the first time in a little while, those meetings were happening on the same day. Because you would first have the workshop, then you would have the business meeting. So let's start at the workshop. What were the big things that happened at the Superintendent's Workshop you find, Jennifer, are the most important things for the public to know about?
Sure. So thank you so much again, Ryan. I really appreciate you having me on. So with the Superintendent Workshop that was on Monday, they went into great talk, great lengths on safety because of what happened, unfortunately, with the school in Texas. And then they went into mental health, and that was most of the discussion for the Superintendent's Workshop. And they had lots of presentations. Different departments, had a lot of graphs and things that they were showing. And so basically the biggest thing was, again, they spoke about the safety and what the schools are currently doing, what they could be doing. They did express that they could not discuss some of those safety things because they have to be private. Otherwise, all of the public would know what the school district's doing to keep the kids safe. And again, they went into the mental health and how they hired a lot of school counselors and all the different positions that they hired for that. And then Dr. Moore, the superintendent, also moved a lot of staff around in the district and in the schools. He moved up and to different places in the schools, Ryan.
Now, was there anything specific with those moves, or was there any specific reasons why that happened?
Sure. So Dr. Moore expressed that typically they don't make a lot of changes, but because of COVID, because Richard Meyer resigned the Thursday before the board meeting, somebody had to fill that spot, so he put in Kelly Bays-Sora in that spot. And as people grow, there was different district positions that he created. And, as those people move up, then they have to have a new assistant principal or a new principal. So that's what he kind of did as far as the district. But all of that's available on the website if anybody wanted to see that. And they still had to comply with the desegregation order. So a lot of those changes too, they had to look at race for some of these movements.
Yeah, that's definitely worthwhile too, because for the folks that don't know, Indian River County is still under a desegregation order, believe it or not, from the late 1960s. And NAACP, they've been the custodian of the lawsuit since the 90s, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So we're one of the few counties in the state of Florida that has this. It's quite frankly, it's quite surprising, but we are under that. So I think it is very important that the district is compliant with that. I personally like to see the district finally become compliant on that, and I just find it's a good thing to do, and I think finally it will close that chapter of the district, and it'll seal that the district is doing the right thing. And I think the district's making a lot of good efforts from what I've been able to observe with that. I know at some point I do intend to, is I have to raise some money, unfortunately, for this, but with funds permitting, I do intend to eventually do a records request and make available to the public the records from 1967 up to the mid-90s is what I was told I'm able to request regarding the desegregation suit. The documents from that I can get from the district. So when I do that, I will create some sort of way to put it on my website, and the public can go ahead and download it if they want to review those documents for whichever reason. I'm curious myself to read through it because I've always had an interest in history and things like that. I've had interest in specifically with American history. So the one thing I want to get back to, though, Richard Myers, so he resigned as, he was the assistant superintendent for curriculum, right?
That's correct.
Okay, and he had, so what prompted the resignation? Do you know anything about that?
Yes, so he said openly that he was having, he had a death in the family, and he wanted to move back to the Panhandle where his family was.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, and that can happen. Things like that in your life can cause something like that to happen for sure. So hopefully, hopefully the next chapter there for him goes well. Now, is there anything else from the superintendent's workshop that you want to possibly go over with anybody that's worth probably talking about?
Sure. Definitely, if you have the chance, definitely go back and watch the Superintendent's Workshop if you want more details. And they discuss all the people that moved. They discussed the finances. They're looking at the budget currently for the next school year. And they did an amazing presentation on that, Mr. Fagan, who's in charge of that. So it's kind of hard to recap. I think it was 4 or 5 hours of the Superintendent's Workshop.
They're fairly lengthy.
It's a lot. And it's a lot of graphs. They talked about the third grade scores and things like that, that we did, go up a little bit. And actually, which was interesting, Ryan, during the school board meeting, they actually were making changes to those graphs and things that they found some errors that they didn't do as well as they thought they did, and adjusted that.
Yeah, and if you want to go ahead and watch the Superintendent's Workshop and the General Business Meeting, you can go to, I believe it's on YouTube, it's School District of Indian River County, which is the official name for the county school district. They have a YouTube channel where they live stream the Superintendent's Workshop and the General Business Meeting for the school board, along with certain events. Like I noticed there's some school concerts and graduation ceremonies that get live streamed to this channel as well. So if you want to go ahead and watch those, that's where you can go and watch that. Now, what had come up during the general business meeting? Was there anything worth the public knowing about that went on at that meeting?
Sure, absolutely. So they did presentations to start. They have a drone camp that's going on over the summer, and they had a demonstration of that. It was awesome. The kids were really, really cool, and it was really exciting to see a drone camp demonstration.
Wait, you mean like the flying drones?
Yeah, like the drones. Wow. You could hear it and everything. They were flying it through things, and it was something. It was something. They're doing that now, Ryan, from 5:30 to 6. They're doing presentations. Okay. So sometimes it's bands, sometimes it's dancing, sometimes it's drones. So it's a really nice way to see children showcase what they've been, doing either over the summer or during the school year.
Yeah, and I know too, from what I've been able to see, I didn't grow up around here. I moved down here to Florida when I was 20 years old, so I grew up in Connecticut. But from what I've seen here in the district, there's a lot of cool things that I've noticed at the schools around here that they do. It's really quite impressive. It's great to see that they have things, including with drones right now, which that kind of technology, there's a lot of cool things that you can actually do with that.
Sure, definitely. Well, and kids enjoy it. You have to keep them engaged. So on top of academics, it can't be just sports. It can't be just clubs. It's got to be fun things that they're interested in. And I mean, you look at drones now, they're doing it with real estate. They're doing it with all these things. So it's not just something that's fun that you can fly over your house. It's something that could eventually be a career.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. And there's a lot actually with technology. I know some people in the past couple of years have pushed for more education on coding. Like my website, for example, I had a little bit of technical know-how prior to creating my news company, but I rather quickly had to learn how to put a lot of code together for my website using a couple different coding languages. I had to learn it fairly quickly so I could launch my website in a timely manner. So yeah, I think that's definitely, anything with that technology-related stuff, I think that's where some things are leaning towards is going in that direction.
Sure, absolutely. Well, and they don't teach cursive anymore, so if it's coding's it or drones is it, then so be it. But so that did not know. He came on shortly after Dr. Moore did, and then it led into citizen input, which, there's quite a few people who stood up and spoke, and then it went into the business meeting. And again, it was just a recap basically of everything that they discussed in the workshop. So, it was very brief what they discussed in the business meeting because they had already discussed it for hours and hours and hours and asked their questions and got staff's input during the superintendent workshop.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. And the other thing, because I had looked through the agenda, because I'm looking to at some point hopefully write a story or two about what has been going on with, what occurred at the superintendent's workshop. I noticed that school board member Brian Barefoot had something on there about focusing on student achievement, right? It was something about student achievement.
Yes.
What was that discussion about with when that agenda item came up during the superintendent's workshop?
So good question on that. I know he was discussing, he's currently in Vermont, his summer home, and he was discussing about their, policies and procedures and how the children are doing there, and was kind of talking in comparison to what, could be done here and looking at the grades and things like that. So kind of just a brief discussion, on his input. He was on a board in some schools in Vermont or something of that nature, and that's what he was discussing.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Right.
Now, is there anything else anything else you want to say to the public while we got you here for this recap? Is there anything you want to talk about, Moms for Liberty or any other groups you're affiliated with?
Sure. So we, Moms for Liberty is a 501c4. We're a nonpartisan organization, and we meet monthly. We're a national organization. It started here in Indian River and Brevard counties, which is so awesome because it was only supposed to be in Florida, and now it's gone, nationwide. We have almost 100,000 members nationwide. And again, it was just supposed to be here in Florida, 67 counties, hoping to have 67 chapters, and it's just blossomed. So we advocate for children and parental rights. We have a lot of things right now that are in the works. The elections are coming up. We're voting August 23rd here in Indian River County. And we're looking at the LGBTQ administration guide that we found through a public records request. We're waiting for a review of the library books with the new laws and policies that will be effective July 1st, Ryan. And we recently found a survey that was given to children last year, 2021, from the Florida Department of Health that had some pretty troubling things in it. So we're trying to see how many students that went to, who signed parent permission slips for this, or if parental consent wasn't given. So we have a lot of things, kind of going on.
That survey, I think I remember hearing, seeing something about that. Mm-hmm. Can you go ahead and elaborate a bit further, if you're able to, on that survey?
Sure, absolutely. And this is something that Jacqueline Rosario brought up in the superintendent's workshop about parental consent. And what happened was, so with our Moms for Liberty Florida chapter, we have a little group text going, and one of the moms said,